Came from a small place, but I never lost hope. Halfway around the globe, I think I lost my way home.
The interesting thing about stigmas is you think it would be the people who have very little information about you that would hold a stigma against you the longest. So a stranger meets you once, they have one encounter about you, you act a certain way, and now the next time they see you, 2 years later, a year later, months later, they hold on to that stigma about you. That would make sense. But it actually is your closest relationships that stigmatize you the most. And we act as such. So let's just say, like in a family, you tend to take on the role that you are, almost that's placed upon you. The way that people within like your family say want you to act, you revert back to that without realizing, right? And it's the syndrome of people going and like becoming a new person at college, university, or living on their own. They come home for the holidays and automatically they're who they were when they were 15. It's because it's the drive to stigmatize somebody is so strong that like you feel it and you adapt to them.
In my DNA, it's deeper than my chromosome. Shout out to Sammy P. It's the UIDI.
And a point about that as a friend and stigma thing, yeah, because some friends it's important to not necessarily have this rigid view of who your friends are. And so one of the most beautiful phrases you can ask a friend when they tell you something is, and I noticed you did this earlier, is you said, tell me more. 3 words, tell me more, versus being like, oh, hey, like, I already know how you would react in that situation. I already know this about you. It's like, no, like you have to have that beginner's mind towards your friends as you all go through and change as dynamic human beings.
This is motivation. I'ma hustle till I die. Yeah, we stay in VIP. No, I never miss a beat.
And I guess that's allied with attachment and this idea that as you're becoming dynamic and as you're changing and as you're learning new things and adding new traits and skill sets, if you're attached to that older person, if you're trying to do both, be the new person that you're walking towards and be the person that you've always been, kind of thing, maybe that is actually where it gets complicated, because you need to learn how to like really just live in the moment. Again, I sound like Eckhart Tolle, right? But that could be it. The other thing I was going to say was there's something called the heartwood in trees. So a seed is in the ground, and then it grows up and it becomes the starting point of a tree, and it becomes what's called the heartwood. So it's the initial wood that grows up around a tree, and then everything else, layers and layers grow on. And there's all these different types of layers that have certain different functions within a tree that grow up from it. But even as the tree, say, lives to be like 1,000 years old or 400 years old, that heartwood in the middle is actually still the same. It's still the original wood. It's still there. And maybe like, I'm kind of always thinking now, like, we're kind of, that is our personalities, even as we're adding new things onto it. So like that, like the person that you developed to be when you were like, 5 years old, they say 6 years old, 7, those interests are always there. And maybe as we get older, we complicate it because we actually pretend like we're interested in things that we're not, or we're interested in things for like superficial reasons. And to simplify it is kind of figuring out like, what are the core things that I've always been interested in, that always have fulfilled me. And like once you get back to those, maybe that's where simplicity comes from.